What does every coach say? And it's so funny in college football. Every coach says this player's doing better. This player's making improvements. We talked about those guys like Joshua Joseph. College, it's always optimistic. Whereas the NFL, it always seems like, man, this guy's really got to come along and this sort of thing. So there's a lot of optimism around college football. But some of these guys that are visiting with reporters aren't going to have jobs in about 6 months. So you had some hot seat coaches. And I want to go through those, and I want to share whether or not I agree or disagree. So we'll go ahead and get it started now. You want to start with Kalani Sitake?
Yes, and this one's relevant.
You want me to pronounce his name?
You pronounced it right, but Kalani Sitake beat Tennessee in 2019, but he's been losing a lot of players to Tennessee since 2019. I mean, I'm talking Gabe Judy-Lally, I'm talking Keenan Peely, and he did go 5-7 last year, and now BYU's at Power 5. And the reason I just mentioned him, I'll mention him quickly because he's not as much on the hot seat, but BYU, for those who don't know, has a very proud football program that's a very solid, consistently winning one, and going 5-7 is not acceptable there. So, yeah, he's on the hot seat. So that's number 10. And I think he keeps
– And that intellectual versus tough head coach – I've interviewed him in person. He's the latter. All right. So
okay.
I agree that he's on the hot seat, and it's a matter of time.
All right. So here's my question.
Okay.
Well, let's do another one. Fired or not after this year? I say not for him. I say he keeps his job.
Oh, I think he's fired. Okay.
All right. You think he's fired? Okay.
Yeah. Scott Satterfield, Cincinnati.
2 years ago, Luke Fickell went undefeated at Cincinnati, took them to the college football playoff. Then they went 9-4. Scott Satterfield takes over this past year and goes 3-9. I think he's getting a bit of a break because of the fact that it's his first year. But if he does that again, I think he'll be fired after 2 years, particularly with Cincinnati at the Power 5 level now.
I would agree with that.
But I think he keeps his job.
Justin Wilcox, Cal.
Here's guys who remembers this one. If Justin Wilcox doesn't leave Tennessee in 2012, Derek Dooley might keep his job. Honestly. That was the big thing that cost Tennessee was Justin Wilcox leaves and Sal Sinceri is hired as defensive coordinator. And it sounds like everybody that was interviewing Sal Sinceri was close at the time knew it would be a disaster. You could tell me if you knew that, Dave.
I was told that he wasn't very intelligent and he didn't work with people well. But other than that, he was a great coach.
Oh, great.
That's somebody that actually coached with him. Said he's not very intelligent, but it's not very intelligent and not good with people. But other than that,
oh my gosh,
it was a very backhanded compliment, as you might imagine.
So the former head coach, the former defensive coordinator at Tennessee is entering his first year in the ACC. Over his last 4 years in the Pac-12, he went 1-3, 5-7, 4-8, and 6-7. This thing could fall out in the ACC. I don't know what expectations Cal has, but he could be gone if he doesn't step it up this year.
I actually think he's okay because he'll be in the ACC and it'll be a little bit easier. Clark Lee at Vandy.
I agree. I think he keeps his job.
Okay, Clark Lee at Vandy. I don't know.
Clark Lee should not be on the hot seat. I'm going to say that up front. He shouldn't be on the hot seat. He has an impossible job, guys. Okay, but he is because here's what happened, Dave. Vanderbilt went 5-7 in 2022 with a strong finish to the season, and everybody thought they would take that next step in 2023, and everybody forgot it's Vanderbilt. They don't take steps because you can't take steps at Vanderbilt. Yeah. So they fell back and went 2-10. So I think that's putting him on the hot seat. The only reason I actually think he's a smart coach, but the biggest reason I question his intelligence, smart people don't take the Vanderbilt job.
All right. Well, he didn't help himself either by his first time at SEC Media Days. He said something to the effect of the goal is to win a national championship at Vanderbilt. No, it's not. It's just
it's not.
It's to be relevant.
I say he's fired after this year. I think he's going to be gone.
Yeah, I do too, but I don't know that it matters because it's Vanderbilt. Mario Cristobal at Miami. I was really high on him. I missed out on him.
Okay, here's the funny thing about Mario Cristobal. He's not on most people's hot seats. He's only on my hot seat. That's why I have him at number 6. And he's on my hot seat because I think he should have been fired for that one stupid decision he made last year. I think that's inexcusable. And that tells me all I need to know that he's not on the intelligent side of coaches. He's on the toughness side. He got Cameron Ward from Washington State this offseason, which increased expectations. Everybody's excited. I think they're going to underachieve. And I think he's going to lose the team. And I think people are still mad about what happened last year with Georgia Tech. So I think they're going to bottom out, and I think he gets fired.
Okay, so then at number 4, you've got Shane Beamer.
I think you've lost. Well, just real quick, let's just mention Dave Aranda at Baylor.
Dave Aranda, sorry.
Yeah, Dave Aranda at Baylor goes 3-9 last year. I think he's fired after this year. I think they wanted to fire him last year, so I think they're going to fire him this year.
So, I hate that I skipped Dave Aranda. Shane Beamer, South Carolina. I think this is his last year at South Carolina.
I think Shane Beamer's seat is very, very hot. I think he has a horrible year. I think they give him an extra one after this, though, because I think South Carolina doesn't want to admit yet they messed up with him. And I think they're tired of transitioning coaches. So I think no matter how bad he does, they stick with him after this year because he's going to tell everybody, remember that time I knocked Tennessee and Clemson out of the college football playoff? Because of Connor Stallions.
We'll see how that investigation, when it's concluded, could hurt him. Will that happen before the end of the year? I mean, that could be a factor if he gets somehow included in that. Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in CBD or Delta products. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Use the promo code HOOKED for 10% off. Hooked for 10% off. And then we have a coach that I think most people nationally would disagree strongly with you, Ryan Day. However, you and I are kind of on the same boat here. It feels like they're pushing Ryan Day to be a champion, and he needs to accept the pushing because if he doesn't do it pretty quickly, his time in Columbus could be short-lived.
Everything Ohio State is doing this year is to make sure that they that nobody can say anything when they do fire Ryan Day, that you don't have an argument. And what I mean by that is they are spending $20 million on NIL. They're bringing in Chip Kelly, so they have their future guy if Ryan Day doesn't work out. They're very angry up there about OSU losing 3 straight to Michigan. And here's the thing. They can't even claim it was because of Connor Stallions because the stories are out there that Ohio State got word of that before the 2022 season and still got blown out by Michigan. And the scandal was already out by 2023 and Ohio State lost to Michigan. So you can't even make the Connor Stallions claim. And for those who don't realize, someone tried to say, Dave, this is hilarious. This was on First Take. This is when you know you don't know football. Stephen A. Smith tried to say, or college football, he tried to say, well, Ohio State's 40-0 in the Big Ten outside of Michigan. If you know college football, that's not something you say, right?
No. Stephen A. Smith is not always on point when it comes to college football. As a matter of fact, incredibly rare. Now, the top 2 coaches on Caleb's list are actually from the SEC. So what kind of changes could we see in the SEC? Portions of the program brought to you by our good friends at Varner Ford in Clinton.
23 F-150 Super Cab 4x4 STX, $45,985. 24 Ford Escape, $30,962. 24 Ford Maverick XLT, $32,720. Varner Ford, your East Tennessee Ford dealership.
Sam Pittman, most underrated coach in the nation. No,
oh my gosh, you are ridiculous.
He's not. I like him, but logically, yeah, it's probably about time for him to go to Arkansas. I mean, I just like him because he's a O-line guy.
Yeah, he's a line coach he was meant to be a career line coach.
Yes.
And stumbled into head coaching. Sorry, those things don't usually work. I mean, Ed Orgeron was a line coach who stumbled into head coaching too. And
Fulmer, it worked with Fulmer too. But
it did work with Fulmer, but honestly, they kind of remind me of each other, Pittman and Fulmer. Not Orgeron; he's a step below. But
I've always thought there was a similarity there. We've never discussed it before, but I've always kind of seen that. And Sam Pittman, if he were at Tennessee and got a couple of breaks and had the area of Atlanta to recruit, I think could have had much more success than he's had at Arkansas for sure.
Oh, I agree. If Sam Pittman it's funny, if he were at an LSU or if he were at a Georgia, we might be talking about a different Sam Pittman because he could just recruit talent. And then all you need to do is instill toughness and get the right staff members at that point, right? To run the office. And so you're right. I think that could work. But typically it's career line coaches. That's a different kind of animal than kind of being a cerebral guy. And by the way, that doesn't mean line coaches aren't smart. I think Rodney Garner is very smart. I think Rodney Garner has been very happy with his career as a line coach, right? And what he's done with it.
Yes, so, no question about it. I think he's done a fantastic job. And then you have Billy Napier at number 1. I can't argue with that. As a matter of fact, if I had to make a bet that he will make it through the season or not, I would say not.
The only thing that might make them stick with Billy Napier, and I'm reaching here, Dave, so you can tell me if I'm wrong on this, but Scott Strickland is the one who hired Billy Napier. This would be the second time he has to fire a head coach, and he would have to admit he's wrong a second time. He can make the excuse.
I was told, I'm going to kind of stop you there, if I may.
Okay.
I was told by a really good source, Scott Strickland's not going to be making that hire.
I can believe that. Because here's the thing, Scott Strickland.
He's former sports information director, for goodness sake.
Here's the thing, but even if he's not, it'll be somebody after him who will be after this season. And the reason I'm saying that is because he will use the excuse that Florida got robbed with the toughest schedule in history this year and say that it's unfair. They're trying to rebuild and they got the toughest schedule in history, so he deserves another year. So you can't say I made the wrong decision. That's the excuse he's going to fall back on. So I think Billy Napier actually keeps his job and Sam Pittman gets fired. And by the way, I think Ryan Day gets fired. I meant to mention that last time. Ryan Day's gone. He's done. It's over.
I think Day last. I think Pittman last. I think Napier is as good as fired.
Wow. We're the exact opposite of each other.
The exact opposite. So there we go.
But Day and Pittman, they had offensive coordinators forced on them in Chip Kelly and Petrino, which is basically code for you're fired. Arkansas will be naming Bobby Petrino as head coach by this in 4 months. They were going to welcome back Bobby Petrino with open arms. It's going to be a motorcycle ride of a situation, but I think they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Who'd you rather have, Bobby? Who'd you rather promote, Bobby Petrino or Chip Kelly? Who's going to have the game pass them by more?
Petrino's pro style, so you don't take advantage of offensive lineman's ability to get downfield in passing situations. So I would say slightly Chip Kelly is still on point with his game. And I think his offense is still solid. I just don't think it's incredibly innovative. It's on the YouTube page. Most likely SEC coach to get fired: Billy Napier, Sam Pittman, Shane Beamer. So far, everybody believes in my take. Ha ha. Billy Napier, 47% of the vote. Sam Pittman and Shane Beamer both with 26% of the vote. Take a moment if you can to hit that.
You guys got to pay attention to the details, though, of the poll. You got to pay attention to the details.
What are the details of the? Oh yes, very good. Billy Napier. I swear that when he was introduced at SEC Media Days, that was his first year. If I had one more person tell me he was detail oriented, I was going to get physically ill. And it turns out he's the exact opposite because he had a player show up on campus that didn't have his NIL money.
Who is intelligence alone? Derek Dooley or Billy Napier? Because they're clones of each other to me. They're exactly alike.
Total coin flip. Not even going to choose.